think it's plot 19 next, yes. And that's Joseph Thurrott. Joseph Thurrott, yes.
The design concept for this house here at plot 19 is to work with two volumes of a house. The one volume that's behind me right now is the south volume, which faces onto the southwest facing garden. And that volume is clad in timber, and it's a more of an open concept in terms of it has a lot of glazing, lets a lot of light in for various reasons. There's a north volume behind us that is fairly closed to the street and closed to the north and closed to the east, providing an environmental buffer. And where the two volumes meet, there is the circulation in terms of the stair going up to the upper level, and that forms also the entrance spine to the house. And by working with two volumes, they're shifted, so they're not just back to back, they're shifted slightly. So the court that you see behind me is the southwest facing garden court caused by the shift of the volumes. And also the color is expressed on the north face, where there's an entrance court for parking cars or for children to play basketball, what have you. And the reason for the shifting of the volumes is primarily to deal with the planning restrictions on the site, but it also, by pulling back the volume, you get glazing facing your neighbor. So the gable end of the volume can be fully glazed, allowing the maximum amount of light in, because the distance away from the property boundary is such that we can get that full glazing. The specifications call for sheep spool insulation. The flooring is from reclaimed slate to the internal of the house, all over the ground floor. And the timber is sourced from local Scottish larch. Someone would buy this house because of several factors, actually. One is the environmental credentials of the house. If people are interested in saving fuel, saving money as a result, this house behind us is a super insulated home. It has very, very good U-value ratings for the walls, floors, and the roof. But I also would like to think that someone would buy the house because of the spatial qualities. The house is very flexible. It's a 4-bedroom house. It could be a 5-bedroom house, a 6-bedroom house, or it could be a 3-bedroom house. The house has, because of the two volumes, there's a very large double height central living, combined open plan living dining area volume. That can be used as is. It could be floored over in the future. The garage or studio area can be adapted to become part of the internal layout of the house, or it could be a standalone garage or a standalone studio or work office. So the house is quite flexible. So we would like to think that it's a holistic design. It caters to maybe perhaps a young family moving in, but as they grow and mature, the house can accommodate their needs without actually physically having to extend the external fabric of the house. You don't have to add on. You can actually do all the extending and manipulation of the floor areas and add or subtract rooms within the actual shell of the house itself. The sustainability aspect of this house is the best we could possibly get under the restrictions and the cost restrictions for this development. The house behind us at plot 19 here is a super insulated house. The walls are made of timber frame construction. The stud work itself is 150 millimeters thick, that's 6 inches. That's fully packed with a batt thermal insulation. The outside of the stud work has a 100 millimeter or a 4-inch layer of low density fiber board. And this acts as another layer of insulation that literally wraps the entire volume of the house, so that it minimizes any cold bridging that would traditionally occur with traditional cavity frame construction. So to give you an example, a lot of houses are built with timber stud construction, and that stud work is fully insulated. However, you normally have a cavity on the outside of that stud work, and then a final external rain screen. It could be out of brick or it could be out of timber. Now this house doesn't have an external cavity. It has a 100mm low density fiberboard on the outside face of the studs, which insulates the stud work. And that 100mm low density fiberboard either has timber strapping on the outside, a timber cladding, or it actually has a spray-on render system. And what that does, it keeps the timber warm, and that in turn helps the thermal performance of the walls. The roof has 400mm of thermal insulation, which is extremely high U value. And the floor has 100mm of extruded polystyrene rigid board insulation underneath the entire ground floor slab of the house. Now that takes care of insulating the envelope, and most architects in this whole development will have considered that. The additional benefit here, what we've tried to do is work with passive solar gain. And that means, as I alluded to previously, the south volume of this house is large amounts of glazing. And that glazing allows the south light to stream into the house. The recycled slate ground floor, when the sun comes in through those south-facing windows, the ground floor slab, which is a concrete slab, warms up. And think of it as a horizontal radiator. The ground floor slab is being warmed up during the daylight hours so that at night that releases that energy in the evening. So for example, when mom comes home with the kids or people come back from work, there's no need to turn on the heating, because even on a cloudy off-shoulder season day, spring, autumn, or on a day like today, which is partially cloudy, that slab will slowly release the energy from the sun up until about 9 o'clock, even 10 o'clock in the evening. So there'll be no need to turn on the heating when you come home from work or play. And that passive solar heating strategy is a key concern for us. And as a practice, we try and minimize add-on or bolt-on technologies such as photovoltaic cells or wind turbines, which can break down and have maintenance issues later on in life. We like to keep things simple and work with the giant nuclear furnace called the sun as much as possible. The backup heating system is a A-rated gas-fired high-efficiency condensing boiler. Now, the original specifications for the house was to have a geothermal heating system, which is drilling a core down into earth, which helps preheat the incoming water to the house. Unfortunately, due to budget constraints, we couldn't install that system, so we do have a high-efficiency gas-fired boiler as a backup system for the house. You asked a question about the upstairs bedrooms having radiators in them. That's absolutely correct. Those radiators work off a water heated system. However, the design of the house, by having the double height living room void with an open stairwell and with the Juliet balcony to the master bedroom, and the bedrooms all being lined to the double height corridor of the stairwell, which links to the ceiling, the double height void in the living space. What that means is that the air will circulate through the house. And that warm slab I was telling you about earlier, the ground floor horizontal radiator, when that releases its energy, it doesn't just release it into the living room space. That living room space is part of the kitchen and it's part of the dining area on the ground floor, but it's also part of the bedrooms on the upper floor. And that double height void acts as, in a way, as a giant chimney. And it releases that energy up, and the currents of air will allow that airflow to go in through the upper corridor, up the stairwell, and providing that the bedroom doors are left open by the occupants during the day, that those bedrooms will be the recipient of that warm air from the sun heating that ground floor slab. And that's one of the reasons for the double height volume. It's architecturally interesting, we like to think, but also there's a practical reason for it, and that is to induce stack effect within the house to distribute that warm air. The radiators are a backup system.